Next, we're going to start on the brake side. Get your T45, crack these 2 bolts. Then get your T30 and crack these 2 as well. Then after that, you're going to have to take off the clip for here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to kind of pull it up and back towards the back of the bike and swing this out. And then you'll pull out the pin. Alright, so I used my hands to loosen this up a little bit. And then I put a screwdriver in there just to pry it out. So this is going to go back like this. And this should just pull right out like so. Just keep pushing it back towards the swing arm. And that will come out. Make sure you don't scratch your swing arm. Next, to release the master cylinder, we're gonna take off these, get your T30, take these out, and then this should be pretty loose. Again, these 2 bolts that are T30, they're gonna be a little hard to get out because of the thread locker on it. So just take your time while you're doing it. While you're taking out these bolts, there is nuts on the back. So you're gonna have to get some type of a socket or a wrench of some sort to hold this while you're doing it. Or what you could do is if you take out these 2 bolts, you can flip this backwards and then you'll probably get some better clearance on here. Alright, so we have our wrench in place. We're gonna get our T30 and start loosening these bolts. There is a nut on the back, so when the bolt gets loose enough, make sure you catch the nut and you catch the bolt as well. You're gonna do the same with the lower bolt as well. I got this bolt loose enough, so I'm gonna take off the nut on the back by hand. There's the nut. And the bolt should slide right out. That's one. Just put the nut back on here for safekeeping. And we're gonna get the other side as well. Alright, I got it loose enough where I can do it by hand. So I'll take the nut off on the back just like I did on the other side. And I'll take off the bolt as well. Bolt comes out. Here's your heel guard. The nut is on the back. I'm going to drop it. And here's the bracket. Obviously you have your spring that connects to the brake pedal. There's your bolt. And there is the bracket to hold the spring in place. Now we're getting our T45. We're going to take off these 2 bolts. Make sure you hold your rear set while you're taking off the last bolt to make sure it doesn't end up scratching your exhaust. And the rear set just pulls straight out. Now you're going to be reusing some of the stock hardware. You're going to be using the 2 bolts and the 2 nuts. Obviously this part for the brake lever, those bolts that we're using came out of here. That held the master cylinder on. So we'll put the bolts through here and here, and we'll line the master cylinder up. All right, so what you want to do to get this side on is first you have to get the plunger into the hole over here. I actually had to ream that hole out just like it was like the tiniest little bit. I had to ream it out, but I reamed it out and then I was able to get that in there. And then next what I did was I took one of those long bolts, I put it through here like so, put blue thread locker on the back, and then put the new nut that has like a nylon type of locking thing on it, just so that we could get this secured. I did put the other bolt in just to kind of hold this in place, but I am going to have to take the nut and the bolt back off so that we can get our carbon fiber heel guard back onto here. All right, so actually the new nut that they gave you, or these small nuts, was actually a 3/8. I took it off using a 10mm, but I believe 3/8 is a little bit of a tighter fit on here, so you could use either or. Probably 3/8 will be your best bet. So I used the nut that came with the package with the nylon locking part on it for this bolt right here to hold the master, because it's a real pain in the ass to get to. Next, you're going to get your second long bolt. You're going to get the very skinny plastic washer. So we'll go long bolt, plastic washer, It will go through, the thicker spacer will go on the back, and then it will go all the way through here. Once you get your threaded part on the back, put some blue thread locker on the threads, and then install one of these nuts again. Make sure it's pretty tight. Now you can't just put the bolt through here because one of the bolt holes has to go through here, which locks to the master cylinder. So you have your bolt, you have your skinny washer, it goes through here like so. Then you get your thicker spacer, that's going to go through here. This will go down through here. You just sometimes you may have to turn it, you may have to use the thing, whatever. You got to get this all the way through. Then you'll push it through here, screw it in through the threads. Once the threaded end of the bolt pops out, blue Loctite, and then secure your nut and make it nice. As you can see, we have both of the bolts through. This one's nice and tight because it is threaded. This side just pushes through, and you'll see on the back side right there, we have just enough room back there to put Loctite and a nut. And same with that one right there that's holding on the master cylinder. Same thing, we'll put the blue thread locker on her and the nut. Next, we put the blue thread locker on each bolt, and now we're just going to tighten them to 20 foot-pounds. Then you obviously want to make sure you check your brake to make sure it's functioning properly and that everything is secure. Now guys, in the video I was using the stock bolts that were on the stock rear sets just for demonstration purposes. You cannot use those. If you didn't see part 1, click on the link in the description, and in that video you will see the correct bolt size that you have to use for this. It has to be flush against there because it does not go through the frame completely, and that could cause failure to happen. You don't want to screw up your frame. So make sure you check that out on part 1. All right, and you are all set. Obviously, like I said, take this for a very short, easy ride down the street just to make sure everything's functioning and to make sure that you don't miss any of the bolts. And that's it. All right, guys, so thank you for tuning in. This is a pretty easy job. It's not too horrible, but obviously, it can get a little bit more technical on this side because certain bolts hold a bunch of different things on. So, and now you have your beautiful rear sets installed.